on tonight's chapter of Great Expectations.
I feel I'm being watched at every step.
Magwitch's past becomes his adversary.
If they catch me here, it's the rope for certain.
Driven by fear, they make plans for a better world.
What do you think, Mr. Magwitch?
I'll wait content, knowing that you and me will make the run together.
Leaving his dream behind, Pip risks it all in a daring run for freedom.
Row, Hobbit, row!
Don't miss the exciting conclusion of Great Expectations.
Storybook Cinema presents a young beauty trapped in a realm of mystery finds true love is hidden from view.
Do you love me, Beauty? Will you marry me?
And can only be seen with her heart. Rebecca De Mornay and John Savage, Beauty and the Beast.
The Disney Channel brings you the finest in nighttime entertainment each week on the Sunday Night Showcase.
This is a radio show here that we do tonight.
Join Garrison Keillor with guest Emmylou Harris for an all-new special.
And I said, cat, you better go on home.
A Prairie Home Companion, the third annual farewell tour.
I'm a hero! A hero! A hero!
It's a special tribute to one of Hollywood's greatest, biggest, and funniest comedians ever.
How sweet it is.
John Candy, Art Carney, and Terry Garr salute Jackie Gleason, the Great One. And there's more outrageous fun when Carol Burnett, Carl Reiner, Whoopi Goldberg, and Robin Williams get together for a few laughs.
Oh, you're so witty.
Carol, Carl, Whoopi, and Robin. It's all happening on the Sunday Night Showcase.
Ideas for the present, dreams for the future. Your imagination holds the key. Walt Disney once said the era we live in is a dream come true. But there are still plenty of avenues to explore. The Disney Channel invites you to join us now and imagine.
How about this for your backyard? Magnificent scenery, rich and varied natural resources, and an awesome reflection of time. Those are the factors which make Yosemite such a compelling attraction. Nowhere in the world has nature been more lavish with beauty than in Yosemite. And in few places has the specter of private exploitation been more blatant. That makes Yosemite a prime example of both the positive and negative ways we humans interact with our environment. "200 million years ago, this beautiful valley was part of a vast sea, like the present Gulf of Mexico. Huge amounts of sand, silt, and mud, eroded from ancient mountain ranges surrounding the sea, settled on the bottom and eventually became rock. Great forces within the Earth's crust caused these layers of rock to rise above sea level and flex them into mountain ranges. As a second mountain range rose, it mixed with molten rock and formed granite. Weathering and erosion over great periods of time created a landscape of rolling hills, broad valleys, and meandering streams. The erosive effect of streams eventually carved deep canyons. It was this corrosive effect that eventually cut a V-shaped valley. During the Ice Age, glaciers filled the area. As they receded, the ice carved through weaker sections of the granite and greatly enlarged the canyon into a U-shape, leaving behind the incomparable valley. Glaciers cut away the lower part of tributary streams, causing spectacular free-leaping waterfalls, such as Bridal Veil Falls. Our Earth is constantly growing, shifting, changing. Not just here in Yosemite, where the changes are so obvious and spectacular, but everywhere, right where you live. Of course, these changes happen over millions of years, so it's difficult to see the differences from year to year. Where we do see rapid changes, they're usually caused by other humans. And those changes we humans make can either be tragic or beneficial. Yosemite is an example of both. The first people who lived here treated their neighborhood with respect. They realized they weren't in a battle with nature, they were a part of it. So they lived their lives in a way as to not upset the natural scheme of things. This Indian village keeps the spirit of those early tribesmen who first settled in Yosemite. And whether we make our homes in the city or the suburbs or the farm, there are things that we can learn about living from those who first lived here. While Yosemite's original settlers, the Indians, lived in harmony with their surroundings, the next people brought destructive changes. They didn't live at peace with nature, nor with the Indians, and they very nearly destroyed Yosemite's beauty as well.
The discovery of gold in 1849 brought thousands of people into the Sierra. They swarmed over the hills, changing streams, churning up the land, and upsetting the natural life patterns of the Indians.
Apprehensive of these swarms of gold rush prospectors and settlers, Indians launched attacks on mining camps and trading posts just west of Yosemite. An all-volunteer force known as the Mariposa Battalion was formed to capture and relocate the Indians to a reservation. It was this battalion of 50 troops that became the first white men to see and enter Yosemite Valley.
Although it was home to Indians for over 4,000 years, no white man had ever seen Yosemite Valley. In the winter of 1851, this was about to change.
Brought to this spot while pursuing a band of hostile Indians, the Mariposa Battalion emerged from forest cover on the brink of the valley's south wall and were overpowered by the view before them. An officer later wrote of that profound moment of discovery. The grandeur of the scene was but softened by the haze that hung over the valley, light as gossamer, and by the clouds which partially dimmed the higher cliffs and mountains. This obscurity of vision but increased the awe with which I beheld it. And as I looked, a peculiar, exalted sensation seemed to fill my whole being, and I found my eyes in tears with emotion.
The Indians were finally moved to reservations. Soon after, tourists and settlers flocked to the Yosemite Valley. Eventually, federal government protection brought cavalry soldiers, the park's first official guardians. Mike Adams is an interpreter for Yosemite's Living History program.
The park was established by law in 1890 in October, but it was so late in the season that the cavalry didn't arrive until the following spring in '91 in May.
I see. Well, are your headquarters around here?
Yeah, they're up over here. The state grant was established in 1864. It was the first time that people in this country actually said this area is too special to be just left to itself or for somebody to own privately, and it became a state grant.
Was there a lot of damage done to the land before the Army got there?
Yeah, especially in the high country. The valley, of course, had a lot of impact. You had several hotels, you had many roads. Each hotel had their open dump out the back. There was impact almost right from the beginning. The high country was being overrun by sheep. John Muir was calling them hoof locusts. There was to be no private grazing of livestock at all.
By the start of this century, the delicate natural balance of the valley was in serious danger. The influx of newcomers was devastating. Settlers and their livestock were irreparably changing Yosemite's vegetation. Early environmentalists like John Muir could predict an even bigger problem, the coming age of the automobile.
Things they were beginning to see was a pressure from people coming into the park. You had automobiles beginning to come into the park. In fact, the last acting superintendent, Colonel Litterbrandt, actually chained an automobile to a tree to keep it from being driven around Yosemite Valley on the floor.
As the cavalry turned the reins of stewardship over to the new park protectors, the rangers, the early chapters of Yosemite came to a close.